Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting and may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. So with that being said, I will call the meeting to order, and we have a couple exciting things on the agenda. We're going to go a little bit out of order. We'll do the approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to take a peek of the May 8th minutes?
Those were executive session minutes, I believe.
Yeah, the draft one is not ready yet. So
Oh, the draft is not ready?
jump over that one.
Okay, so we'll skip that. And then we are going to jump to 6, as we have representatives here from Waterfront Promotions LLC. Letter from Attorney Arthur Frank regarding request for seasonal license agreement at 600 Duval Street, Fall River, Mass. And with that being said, we have Attorney Arthur Frank here.
Good evening, Madam Clerk, members of the board. For the record, my name is Arthur Frank. I'm a lawyer with an address of 209 Bedford Street, Fall River, Massachusetts, and I represent the proposer of this request, Riverfront Promotions LLC. They have, as you know, asked for permission to use a portion of your pier down on the waterfront, and I was just talking with Attorney Coughlin, and the engineer tells us that it's approximately 20,362 square feet, and it's the northerly part of that two-pronged pier. It's where a lot of the construction is going on right now. I've given you all copies of the 3D proponents of this, and if you look at them, and I'll go to the easel in a minute. If you look at the very first page I gave you, that pavilion that's on the far left side closest to the water, that is not something that we would have ready for this year. What we would have ready would be a stage, a bar, and the storage areas that you see on the easterly side of the portion of the pier. So as we go to the easel, we're looking south. As you can see, one of the fingers is actually a little longer than the other, but this would be approximately the area that you would be giving us the permission for to use. This building would not be ready this year. This would be the stage, and this would be the bar. Here's another view looking from the east going west, and as you see, there'd be certain bar stools in front of the bar, and they envision also having either Adirondack chairs or maybe having people bring in the sling chairs, because this isn't just, we don't just want this to be a place to have a drink. We also want it to be a place where there's going to be events. And when we were filling out the liquor license application, which would be the next step if he gave us permission, the proponents of the LLC, Mr. Betancourt and his wife, said we like to have a lot of different things. We may want to have concerts. We may want to have Portuguese dancing down there. We may want to have movie nights. So we checked every single box on the entertainment application. So we're looking maybe to have music, dancing, cultural events. And in order to do that the right way, they knew that they would need somebody to coordinate that. And I brought Mr. Tyler Almeida with me tonight. He is the proposed events coordinator. And Tyler, why don't you give a little bit more of an explanation as to what you would have there?
Sure. My name is Tyler Almeida. I am originally from this area. I spent the last 2 years in San Diego working for Marriott International. Previously, I was working in the Providence area, organizing past events, such in, I've organized an event in the past in Burnside Park that was nationally televised on ESPN. I have a close relationship with a lot of the local bands and the community members, and have a long history of organizing such events. So I think this would be a great project for the community, for the waterfront, and we would, again, we would do multiple outdoor events, yoga, movie night, live music, things like that, to sort of bring the community together.
Yeah, we don't see ourselves as being a competitor of what's already down there. We think we would be a component of what this board probably wants to see down there. Obviously something a lot better than what used to be down there in the 50s and 60s and 70s. So there are plenty of restaurants, but we don't want to be a restaurant. We want to be a center that's an event center. We've even gone so far as to reach out to Narragansett Brewery, and they have agreed to work with us to help promote the pavilion, to help promote the center. And we submitted a memorandum of understanding that Mr. Betancourt has signed, and besides providing us with their beverages at a certain posted cost, it would also help us with promotions. It may be in the form of umbrellas, it may be in the form of Adirondack chairs. We don't know yet, we will work that out. But that's what we're trying to bring to the waterfront, and it's still gonna leave the major portion of that pier open for the public use through this board's policies and procedures. So we ask that you look favorably on our request, and we'd like to work in partnership with you to bring something a little different to the waterfront that's not currently there now.
So at this point, thank you very much, Arthur and
Okay.
Tyler.
You're welcome.
I'd like to open up to any board members that might have any questions.
I have a very quick question. Would you be advertising these events outside of Fall River to bring folks from other communities to?
I'll defer to my events coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, we plan to bring people into the community that aren't familiar with the Fall River area, bring them, show them the beautiful waterfront that's down there. We want to have a wide variety of events, you know, stemming from a small event that's geared to a local, say, fundraiser or wedding, things like that, up to potentially having a nationally televised.
Will you advertise that on radio or other media to attract outsiders?
We have, so as far as my understanding, that's where Narragansett, the brewery will come into play. From our tentative agreement that we have with them, they would be handling most of the advertising and sort of spreading the word out there for us.
They're going to be a social media outlet for us. And to give you an example of what the city licensing board allows, you could have jukebox music, you could have recorded music, you could have live music, you can have karaoke, you can have dancing by performers, movies, light show, floor show, theatrical exhibition. So I don't want to limit what Mr. Almeida may have in his mind as far as what he could bring to this area. But if you give us the opportunity, we're gonna try the best we can.
Just to add to that one question, Joe, is I do have a copy of the memorandum of understanding with Narragansett Brewery, and it does say that Narragansett Brew Company will, offer promotional merchandise materials, including printed and electronic social media support. So I believe that they're going to have the full backing of the whole social platform of Narragansett, as well as whatever they want as well.
It should be understood as well, this would be a seasonal license. Your licensure would tie in with any license that we get from the licensing board. They do have seasonal liquor licenses. I believe they run from May 1st to November 1st. So that's how we would tie this in. We would wrap everything up at the end of the year and come back for the next season.
Any other questions?
So basically, this is a community-based idea, potentially a first step in tourism for Fall River. Because
Absolutely.
if you're touring on even potentially a national level, you're saying, which I've always been 100% about community-based, something that everybody can enjoy. Families, individuals, open to everyone.
Correct.
Essentially.
I have a question, yeah. My question would be about the access to it. You had said something that concerned me, that the licensee would be using that part and the city would have access to the rest of it. And I just want to make sure that the taxpayers and the citizens have access to everything, that it's not exclusive for this particular business, that pier.
No, what I meant to say is that the only piece that you're allowing us to use
Okay.
is that finger portion of that pier. But obviously, we want the public
Right.
to come to our pavilion.
So people that aren't using
But
that
so-
particular business, especially the Chapter 91 license requires the access to everyone, so it won't be closed off to anyone?
Oh, no. No, that's just the only area that you're gonna allow us
I got
to
you.
use, and that's the only place that that'll be licensed for the
Yeah.
alcohol.
I mean, I like it. I like the whole concept. I like everything. I think it's a huge asset to the city. I just wouldn't want to see it fenced off and be a cover charge to get into that section of the pier if there's an event there or something, because the public owns that property. The public should have
Absolutely.
access to
Absolutely.
all of it. So, with that being said, I'd love to support it, as long as that's in the license agreement, that there shall never be a cover charge or restriction on the public accessing the entire property.
I don't think there's any.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the intent.
That's the
Okay.
intent at all.
Great. As long as the public always has full access to the entire pier, I fully support it. I love it.
And theoretically, in conjunction with what you're doing, I mean, we could even promote things like chowder fests or art exhibitions or any number
Exactly.
of, even a mini Fall River Celebrates America again, I mean, to just tie everything in.
But if somebody wanted to go to the Charter Fest and they wanted to have a drink, they would have to go over to that pavilion.
Yep.
They wouldn't be able to go to the southerly portion.
No, which that part I think is a good thing, to keep that separate.
Sure.
So are you in any respect considering like a 21 and over type thing in that area, or is it just?
Well, I think that's the purview of how the licensing board wants us to set it up. They may tell us, you're going to use wristbands, you're going to use a roped-off area for just the alcohol, because obviously if there's a family that wants to go down there, mom and dad will want a beverage, but we're going to have to make sure and prove to the licensing board that we can police it, to their standards.
No.
And just to expand a little bit more, there's also been talks that in the parking lot area of the busy weekends, inviting food trucks to come in, inviting, other people to come in, not in competition with them in alcohol sales, but to enhance the area. Maybe set up on one portion of it, maybe the RDA will set up a playground area, we'll do something that the kids can also do, because the other whole half of the area, we've talked about putting grass. And, I've been listening to their proposal back and forth from square one, and I think it's gonna enhance really the area.
And we fully understand, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you may have other ideas once they depress Route 79. We know this is not going to be forever, but we think we can bring some enjoyment to people down at the waterfront for at least a limited number of years.
Mhm. But you never know either.
Well, you don't. Yeah, absolutely.
It could turn into the best thing ever, and who knows? The possibilities are endless,
Any other
No,
questions?
just a comment, like other bars or other establishments that provide alcohol, a lot of times after like 8 p.m., you have to be 21 or older. So
Yeah,
it could be
again,
something like that where you
They'll
can
work
only
it
get
out,
into that
yeah.
area once
Right.
you're.
whatever the licensing board tells us to do, we're going to do. If they say they want the alcohol just served in a specific area, then that's what we're going to do. If they want it roped off, we'll rope it off.
What's the timeframe into turning that thing green and getting you guys to open your doors? Not
If we had our
necessarily time
druthers,
ready to go. Yeah, exactly.
if we had our druthers,
Yeah.
it'd be great to open for 4th of July.
Okay.
But
So,
again,
yeah.
I know the site is still being worked on.
Yeah.
I still have to file the application with the licensing board. It has to be approved at this level. It has to be approved at the Boston level. Once it leaves the licensing board's office here in this building, we really don't have a lot of control over it. What we can do is ensure that the application is complete, that all the questions are answered, so that when it gets up there, the investigator can look through it and hopefully get a positive recommendation over to the full board for approval. Because once that happens, they will electronically contact the licensing board that the license has been approved in Boston, and then it's just a question of how quickly the builder can get the building up.
So what has to happen to go to the next step to get this rolling?
The next step is.
Because I can't believe that you put this together in 6 months, since we switched consulting companies. I didn't think this was for years. And I commend, the chairperson, because I had nothing to do with it. And I know you worked on it with the administration. I think it's incredible what you put together in 6 months' time, because I know we were left with a mess.
And we want the public to be out there.
And you want the public to
Absolutely.
be out there, so.
It would be a motion to vote to authorize the chair to sign the license.
I would make that motion to authorize the chair to execute the license with the licensee and negotiate and get it moving.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you much, we're very excited about it. The next item on the agenda, Economic Development Director position, interview of the candidate. And with that being said, I would like to ask Maria to come on down, please.
Good evening,
Hello,
Madam Chairman. Nice to see you.
nice to see you again.
Hello.
Good evening.
So everybody has been issued her resume, and we're gonna follow the same format, basically.
Okay.
The same as the questions that the preliminary screening committee asked, just so full board can hear you. So would you please tell us about your background and why you're so well suited for this position?
My background, first of all, I'm Maria Marasco. I'm an attorney I have a master's degree in business administration from Boston University. For the past going on 5 years, I have been the Southeast Regional Director for the Massachusetts Office of Business Development under the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development, and I'm very proud to say that I am the representative for Fall River. And I have been working in this city and with your city in conjunction with your previous consultants, your business community, and also both administrations, prior administration, this current administration, over that time period, and have successfully completed a number of economic development programs for the city. I'm currently a member of the Massachusetts Offshore Wind Team. So it's been my pleasure to introduce a number of international companies to the city with the potential of them locating here and helping develop the offshore wind industry in the United States. So with that being said, my qualifications, you get an attorney, you get a business person, you get somebody who has actually started a number of small businesses who can relate to the local business community, somebody who has actually been here in the city and has a background and a commitment to seeing positive efforts move forward.
Thank you. Describe your experience in the field of economic development, which you kind of just touched on,
Yeah.
but specifically more with job creation and job retention.
Okay, well, there are a number of tools, as we say, they're in the toolbox, and it's very important for any economic development director, any economic development agency, and also the businesses that need to access these tools to understand how they work. So I've had expertise in this particular area. There are local incentives, state incentives, and beyond that, there are workforce incentives. On the federal level, as you see, was so very helpful in the revitalization of the Harbor Mall. They access new market tax credits. So again, it's my understanding the network of people that I already have in the economic development community and understanding those tools in the toolbox, and to be able to refer businesses and identify those tools which will apply in any particular economic development plan.
Can you provide us with some examples of success in working with state and federal economic development offices and their programs?
Well, I can say that the Harbor Mall was certainly something. Prior to my getting involved, I did introduce the developers to Mass Development, which has funds for new market tax credits. Merrow Manufacturing, I was introduced to Charlie Merrow, and it's wonderful to see that out of that one introduction, he was able to get state assistance through, I shouldn't say assistance, state tax credits in order for him to reinvest it in his people. The city of Fall River also invested in workforce development funds. He has been avid advocate of trying to train people and get them involved in the community. And so there was also U.S. Bedding, a project that we worked on. Again, state tax credits that allowed the business owner to reinvest in his plant. And then most recently, introduced a major offshore wind company to the city with the potential of them locating here.
Describe your experience with compliance and statistical reporting requirements associated with government programs.
For many years, I was executive director, or I manage a number of state agencies. So the compliance level was very important, ranging from financial compliance to public records compliance. So I think my resume may actually speak for itself in terms of the level of responsibility that I had, and the.
How about your responsibilities with budgeting? How many employees have you supervised at one time, and describe your managerial style?
Well, at the Board of Review, I supervised approximately 30 employees. My budget there, about $2 million. You know, at a certain point, it doesn't matter if it's $200,000 or $2 million. It's just where the zero lies. But at the end of the day, you have to account for every penny. My management style is that I like to dive deep into a project. I like to build consensus. I like to learn from the people who are the end users. And so with that being said, you have vast experience here, and I would be looking to all of you for your input. I'd certainly be looking to have a direct conversation with the consultants involved in your urban renewal plan. And then all of a sudden, and absolutely the leadership of Fall River.
Describe your activities during your first day and first week on the job.
As I previously mentioned, I think I would like to just sit down with you all, certainly get the consultant in the room to just start diving deep into those urban renewal plans. And I think finding out for the past 6 months or so that you've been without a director, to find out what's worked, what you need, and what you may be looking forward to developing in the short term. And certainly this project would be right at the top of the list.
What do you consider to be your best strength and biggest weakness?
My best strength is that I never give up, and I believe in giving my all. And to a certain extent, that may be my weakness, because it requires a lot of energy and effort, and yet I'm still standing, I'm still here, and I'm committed. I'm committed to the city. I mean, I know that there was a gap, and I think I think your city leaders can attest to the fact that we were just making it work, making things happen, and your businesses didn't suffer those that were looking for direction and incentives and programs.
Why do you want to leave your current position?
It's not a question of wanting to leave, but it's wanting to come here again, taking the experience that I've had within the city, taking the experience that I've had with the state, and focusing it here in this particular city. And so if you're wondering this affinity that I have towards Fall River, it's not only the people here that's working here for the past 5 years, the waterfront, which is my passion, but my grandparents emigrated from Italy to Lawrence. So in many ways, I see Fall River just that part of that family network. My grandmother worked in the textile mills, and it's like kind of familiar. It's very familiar.
Thank you. What are your salary expectations, and when would you be able to start this position?
My salary expectations are those commensurate with the level of skills, experience that would be required for the position, and then with an understanding that what I also bring to the table, which is, again, expertise in the offshore wind industry, which is a potential, expertise in state and local tax incentives, particularly to Massachusetts. And when could I start? I guess it's something that we can work out, and something we can clearly work out.
Great, thank you.
This summer.
Before I
Definitely.
open it to the board, I just want to say thank you.
Oh,
Every time we've run into each other,
We're on the Blue Economy Corridor Advisory Committee
thought about it
together.
So it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.
So I wanted to open up to the board. Bob, do you have any questions?
No, I was on the screening committee, so I had the privilege of listening to more answers from Maria, so I'm pretty well set.
How about you, Sean?
Do you have a vision for Fall River?
Well, my vision is to make it the vibrant city that the people of Fall River deserve.
And what type of balance do you think we need? Big business, small business, collaboratively working together? What type of balance do you need to strike to get that right? Because obviously the small business is the backbone.
Absolutely. I mean, we know that, and I haven't checked your percentages, but clearly the smaller businesses need as much nourishment as do the larger businesses need the attention. So we see, actually, we're currently working on Alexander's Boutique. What a fabulous story. I mean, well, how many jobs do you think you're going to create? And I'm expecting him to say 5. You know, it's like 25. And that to me is that kind of story. So it's not, the balance is that there has to be a balance, right? And you have to treat every business, 1 or 2 person is just as important as the 300, because at the end of the day, all those people go home, they get a paycheck, you know, and they have to pay their bills. And then they want to be able to come back into a city that they can enjoy. And so I think that's more of a philosophy than.
You good? Joe, do you have any questions for him?
Couple simple questions. I think that Kara asked those are tough ones, and I'm sure that the subcommittee also asked tough questions. First question, could you tell us what was the main reason or attraction that led you to apply for the Economic Development Director's position? What was one, if you were to say one main attraction that led you to this process, what would that be?
I just would have to say all the good projects that we've been working on. So I saw the potential. And again, I think the screening committee had a lot to do with it. They were engaging in that their vision was something that I heard quite clearly, this positive attitude. And I think that is really a linchpin to getting any project moving forward. There's got to be a definite interest in wanting to make it move forward.
Good.
And get people together to make it move forward.
Good answer. We are looking for someone to keep the momentum going. We do need to keep things moving. Last question. How confident are you that your background and experience will position you to be a successful leader, and why?
I'm very confident.
That's good.
And I think, and why am I confident? Again, I think my resume speaks for myself. I don't think there's a project that I've ever shied away from. I think I have the skill set to be able to know what information I need, and not be so arrogant that I can't ask and find out what answers that and what's relevant. And I don't, again, I think my success becomes because I believe that I don't have 100% of the answers, that it requires a lot of input, a lot of listening, and a lot of effective administration, which I think I can clearly bring to the table for you. I have reported to a number of boards before, too. So to that extent, I think it is vitally important that you have the information that you need, all the information that you need. You can decide whether or not you want to absorb it or not, but it's not my call. It's for you to be able to decide that. So.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maria?
Actually, Joe asked my question. I was going to ask what was the main reason that you wanted to come to Fall River, because obviously the nation knows all the troubles and turmoil we have. So again, I've lived here my whole life. I think we have such great potential. I've always believed in Fall River. But you have an excellent resume, which I think is almost too good to be true. But that's
Why, thank you.
more of a
I'm going to say,
statement
my
than-
mother said when you
than a
know what to
question.
say thank you. So thank you.
I had one other comment. When I first looked at your resume, I said, she's an out-of-towner. She's not going to know the players. She's not going to know, the learning curve's going to be ridiculous. And then when I got to talk to her, she knows every player and every little hole in the wall business. And I didn't realize you were working with these people already.
Yeah.
And for you, I think you could just hit the ground running, almost
Yeah.
seamless. And that's what impressed me so much. Even though You look at it, she's from out of town. It seems like you're here more than you're
Well, it's
anywhere.
not that far.
It's not that far, no.
And I think with
Yeah.
the other, and thank you, because I also wanted to add, and you
Uh-huh.
reminded me of saying
Yeah.
that I do have a network, and I do have relationships with the communities around
Right.
Fall River. And they are just as dependent upon your success as, for their people to come in and vice versa. So, and again, it's a wonderful network to learn and to get ideas, right? So if I hit a roadblock, I can pick up the phone and, and find out an answer. I have a very great relationship with the folks in New Bedford. I will resign from the New Bedford Economic Development Council, though, if you do offer me the position. But again, that's another reason why. I think the network of people that I've met down here and the collaboration that is possible, doesn't have to be turmoil, is right there and ready. And I see that actually with this board, you're ready to move forward, and I would be very pleased to help you to get there.
Just make one more comment also. Yeah, I'm thinking too about you saying with the networking, and it is important. If Fall River's going to move forward, we do need to draw other people in. We do need to draw other communities in. It has to be a back and forth, even for tourism, for everything that's coming down the road, the urban renewal plan, a potential railway.
Right.
That networking is going to be so important.
And my relationships with the state, remain and are very strong. And I will say that I'm one of the few of the regional directors who would engage with MassWorks, for example. I'd like to say that the dredging was one of my ideas, and I'm glad the administration embraced it. That's the other piece that I bring. So clearly, state support is an integral part of what you're able to do. What we will be able to do.
And in terms of with the wind energy, and now Somerset's bringing in the wind energy, and that somehow we could.
Fall River has the land. Fall River has the assets more than any other community, and probably Mayor Mitchell will be very upset with me, but that's just the reality in terms of acreage. So it's a potential. It's something that actually would affect your waterfront plan, and then for you to decide based upon, again, the balance, what would be appropriate and what does the community and what the community wants.
Community is for me, community is very, very
Well,
important.
They're the
Openness,
decision makers.
Openness, honest government, it's all very important. I'm always big on the community being well aware of what's going on, why it's happening, and I feel that you fit in that mold.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And just to touch base again, on the contacts and the preliminary screening, one of the things that you said that, really hit home is when we were talking about the urban renewal plans downtown and the waterfront, you listed off 5 or 6 outlets for funding. And, so your extensive knowledge and your contacts, I think, would be above and beyond an asset to the city on all ends, not only with your contacts in economic development, but also on the funding level. How do we get it done? And if we wanted to do something more ourselves without going out to a big business, how could we do it? And I think your knowledge is top-notch in that aspect.
Okay, thank you.
So with that said, I want to thank you very much
You're welcome.
for coming, and we are going to go into executive session. Proposed executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel and/or to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel for the Economic Development Director position pursuant to Mass General Laws 30A, 21A2.
Do we want to go into all 3 at the same time?
All 3, yes. And also proposed executive session to review and approve executive session minutes for May 8th, 2019 pursuant to Mass General Law 30A, 21A7, and to review and respond to the open meeting law complaints pursuant to Mass General Law 30A, 21A1 filed by Mr. Patrick Higgins.
So we need a roll call vote to go into executive session for those 3 purposes with the determination that we will return to open session.
Yes, we will return. Kathy, could you please do a roll call vote?
Kara O'Connell,
Yes?
Robin Smith,
Yes?
Michelle Dion.
Yes.
Lori Branco.
Yes.
Joseph Olivera.
Yes.
Great. We discussed the potential candidate in executive session, and we're all very pleased with her. And I didn't know if anybody might have a motion.
I do have a motion. I would make a motion that we authorize the chair to enter into a contract with the applicant, Maria, for an annual salary of $130,000, 3-year term, standard benefits, and employment to start no later than 7/1/19.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we need a roll call vote?
No, we're out of executive session.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and do we have
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.